Welcome to Retiring Early with Real Estate Investing with SearchProperty, the buyer's agency. By watching all the way through this session, you will gain some insight as to how we operate as a buyer's agency, but also where we can bring value to clients like yourself. You might be sitting on the fence thinking, if I want to go ahead with this buyer's agency, do I want to work with Ravi and his team, or is it just that I want to enjoy his YouTube videos? Now, there's nothing wrong with the YouTube videos, but over 90% of people will focus on consumption. And I want you to move from consumption to actually executing. So what I share in this video will help you on that journey to execution. What you can expect from this video is a little bit more about myself, about my portfolio and what I do, and then about how SearchProperty, the buyer's agency, actually works. From there, we're going to go into the step-by-step process we take in helping clients. And then in addition to that, I want to show you some client stories as well as their results. And I'm not just talking about results from just 2 weeks ago, I'm talking about 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, 2 years ago. So some people that have gone out there, purchased one property, and then others that have gone out there and built a portfolio with us. In addition to this, I also want to be transparent with you and share the results of the buyer's agency relative to what is actually happening out there in the market. We'll finish off with some frequently asked questions that I always get asked in strategy sessions as well as discovery calls. And then I'm going to walk you through sort of what the next steps could look like. Sit back for the next 20 to 30 minutes as I share with you some of these results as well as how we operate. Now let's start with my story. I'm going to assume that you haven't watched all the videos on my channel. There's over 200 at the moment. So I want to briefly share my story, and there might be some stuff here that you probably haven't heard about on the channel. So I bought my first property at 22, and I bought it for $190,000, a 3-bedroom brick home in regional New South Wales. And I know what you're thinking. I still look back at those moments and say, why didn't I buy more? So straight out of school, I went and did my bachelor's degree in business, major in marketing. I was very fortunate to have landed a graduate position at Mars Chocolate, where I stayed for a couple of years before I decided that I wanted to make a change and I wanted to move and pivot into something I was more interested in. So I went ahead and started studying. I got an advanced diploma in conveyancing. I worked in the conveyancing firm for about 2.5 years. And from there, I started pivoting even further because conveyancing was there. I enjoyed it to a certain extent, but I realized that I wanted to bring more value to you guys. And so the best way to do that would be to go ahead and become a buyer's agent, share with you some of the secrets that I've used for my own portfolio, and also allow you to build a financial freedom machine with my help. But before that, I did my certificate in finance and mortgage broking. I ended up getting my license there, really understood the back end mechanics of how to structure a portfolio, as well as what you would need from a lending perspective. And then I ended up getting a Class 1 license in real estate, which is what I hold now. And at perhaps the most volatile period of our entire lives, I went ahead in Feb of 2020 and set up SearchProperty, the buyer's agency. From there, I won a finalist award at the Real Estate Business Award in 2022 for the Young Gun of 2022. And I've gone on to build a personal portfolio worth over $6 million. And by the age of 28, I had 13 properties. Yes, I was scratching my head thinking, wow, this is a lot. I've never thought I would get there. But this is a little bit about myself, and this is to showcase to anyone that's come on the website just randomly or on the YouTube channel and wanted to know a little bit more about myself and why you should spend probably the next 15 to 20 minutes with myself learning about my story as well as what the clients are doing and how we are helping people like yourself actively today to build out machines for the future. Now, the question you've got to ask is, why is this important? Why am I watching this? It's probably because you want to make a change from where you are in your current state to somewhere else. And this is where we can help. But if you want to go somewhere, you would rather go somewhere with someone who's been there before. And you want to build with someone who knows the rules of the game so you can avoid the mistakes that most people make. And what I'm referring to here is that if you're going out there and you wanted to say build the ideal body physique, you'd probably go out there and work with someone that has the ideal physique that you want. We know everyone's got different goals, but if your goal aligns with someone that's already there and has achieved those goals, it's best to partner up with them. And that is why I showcase exactly what I've done, how I've done it on the channel. And the reason I share those stories is because for some it's inspiring, and for some it's that motivation that they really need to kickstart their journey. And for others, like yourself, you just might want to know, what does this guy actually do? What is he bringing to the table that I don't already have? And why should I listen to him when it comes to building wealth through real estate? Now, I hear this line a lot, but Ravi, buying real estate is actually easy. Now, you definitely don't want to fall for this trap, because if it were easy, then everyone would do it. And although most people know how to go out there, go online and find real estate, they can go and purchase something, put an offer through, But there's a reason why less than 1% of Australians have more than 6 properties. And effectively, if you're looking at financial freedom through just real estate, you're going to probably need at least 5 to 6 properties to get there. So if it was so easy, why isn't everyone there? Now, I will agree with you, buying property is actually quite easy. You can go out there, pick anything up and you will eventually get something. But the problem is that we need to buy the right property in the right location at the right time. And this is where most of the mistakes are made. And that's why a buyer's agency like SearchProperty helps people like yourself. Now, I value your time. I don't want you wasting your time if this video is not for you. Now, I made a slide here. Let's go through it together. Now, take a moment and think if this is you. I want to invest passively and enjoy my lifestyle today. I want a property portfolio that grows with little to no money from my pocket. I want to outsource the research and leverage the expertise of a team to guide me through this process so I avoid mistakes and make above average results. I have the money and I know it's important, but I feel stuck with not knowing what my next move should be. I see people making money from property. I want to do it as well, but I don't know where to start. Now, if this is sounding a bit like yourself or it's conversations you've had with your partner, your parents, or your siblings, then sit back, let's continue watching and see where the value is for you. So if you have answered yes, let's continue. Now, realistically, when it comes to real estate, you have two options. One, you try and do it yourself. Now, you may have already tried this and made a mistake. You may also not have the time. You may have analysis paralysis, which in today's market is very common. You're out there and you can get 3 or 4 different perspectives, and then from there you go down different rabbit holes to figure out that there's multiple ways to build wealth in real estate, but there might just be the one for you, but it's so hard to figure out which one is the right move. So as a result, you don't actually move. You may also lack the confidence when buying property. You may not have someone in your family or your parents that have actually been out there as property investors, so you don't have the confidence to back your intuition or back your gut feel. Unfortunately, we're working with leverage. When it comes to buying property, you're most likely going to the bank and getting a loan. So when you're working with such large numbers, 200, 300, 400K worth of debt, you want to be making the right decision. Now, you also don't want to buy the wrong property, or maybe you go ahead and purchase the wrong property. Now, contrary to what you hear online, you can actually lose money with property. I've seen so many cases, spoken to so many different people, over 400 strategy sessions over the last couple of years, and I've realized there's a trend. If you buy in the wrong location or you buy the wrong asset in the right location, you will lose money. And in the short term, you may not think it's a big deal. Maybe it's gone down by $10,000 or $20,000, but it's the opportunity cost of being out of the market. If you have a property that you've purchased and it's gone down by $10,000 over, say, 2 or 3 years, but in the same time, if you purchase the right asset, you would be in a position where you could use the equity uplift of, say, $80,000 to $90,000 to have purchased a second property. Now you've got a portfolio that grows efficiently, and this is what stops a lot of people from going from 1 or 2 properties all the way up to 5, 6, and beyond. Now, your second option is that you could outsource the entire process to a team of experts. Now, you could leverage a team which has years of experience, utilize the strategies and tactics that experienced investors use, avoid the mistakes that other investors are making out there, and streamline the process to enter the market today. You want to rely on results you can trust. So the idea here is that if you wanted to go down this path and you don't have enough confidence and you felt like doing it yourself wasn't getting you anywhere, now it's time to outsource it. And that's where a solution for you and your problems could be SearchProperty, the buyer's agency. So how does SearchProperty actually help clients? Well, we're focused on building wealth with clients by growing their portfolios. Some clients are just starting out purchasing their first property, and others have an existing portfolio they want to just supercharge. They may have a couple of properties but are stuck, and then there's others that don't have the confidence to purchase their first, they want to dip their toes, and generally we found people that come on board buying their first property end up staying for the next 3 or 4 with us as well. Now, our focus is purely on high quality brick homes between $350K and $500,000, and we only look at existing properties. Now, later in this video, I'm going to share with you exactly what makes us different from all the buyers agents you're talking to, from all the advisors or sales agents you're talking to out there, and from there you'll be able to make a decision for yourself whether we are the right fit. Additionally, we're looking at high cash flow and high capital growth. So we're looking for the diamond in the rough. I don't want a property that just gives me cash flow and no growth, and I don't want a property that gives me all growth but no cash flow. Now, later I will share some real results from clients, what they're achieving today, and this could be you. Now, this may be you or someone you know, but tell me if this sounds right. Sam, who is 32, specializes in IT and has been working really hard to save enough money to buy a house. He works on average 50 to 60 hours a week, and by the time he gets home, he wants to relax and unwind. After 8 years of saving and working long hours, he decides to buy a house. He asks people at work about their opinion. asks friends what they did, and ultimately decides to buy an apartment near his work, because that's what people advised him to. He's asking the wrong people the right questions. This will result in guesswork and most likely a terrible outcome. Despite everyone thinking every property goes up in value, this is 100% incorrect. Imagine asking the right questions to the right people. Now, if we zoom out and we take a bit of a forecast that's been extrapolated from CoreLogic with Aussie Home Loans, we want to see what values properties will hold in 2043. Now, everyone's got an opinion about property, but numbers don't lie. If we see the continued growth that we've been seeing in this market, we could see prices 6x from here in 20 years, which would effectively mean 600% gains on the real estate. Now, that's not because all this real estate is now substantially better in quality. It's in fact our currency that's losing its value. And that debasement means that people continue to lose money with inflation. Now, if you take a look, and yes, we're using averages here, we can see the national average price could be closer to about $3 million in 20 years. Now, I don't expect the growth to be linear. I don't expect these numbers to stick exactly where they are per region. But what's important to take away from this is that housing affordability was a problem 50 years ago, and it will be a problem in another 20 years. Only this time, it'll be worse than what it is today. So if you have kids or you're planning for your family and you're thinking about what life looks like for you in retirement, think very hard at what you want to do today to make the changes. Because if you don't act today, you're going to now kick the can down the road and then suddenly wake up to a reality where you may not be able to make the rent that week. Or you may be in a position where you have to substantially reduce your lifestyle in order to just survive. And that's why you're here, is to try and make the changes today, and I urge you to act quickly. Now, you want to protect your wealth because inflation is eroding the dollar. Now, if you go ahead and save your money purely on the basis that that's what we got taught, unfortunately, you're going to have a lot less to spend in 20 years' time. We can see a page from a Woolies advert that came out in Australia in 1970s. And what you can see is that some of the products here have gone up by 5 to 10x. The idea is using productive debt to go and establish yourself in getting productive assets like real estate, good investment properties in good locations that allows you to build cash flow. This empowers you. It means you don't have to rely on anyone for your retirement. This is why we can effectively get people to early retirement rather than just retirement or this idea of not working anymore at 65. What we want to do is start achieving that earlier. Now let's go through the process that we use at SearchProperty so you're aware of what's actually involved. Now, step one is to sign the agreement and pay the deposit. But I would go on to say before this, you're already engaging in the content. You're learning a little bit about myself, my personality, and my weird nerdness behavior. Yes, that's a word I just made up. But you're also understanding what's happening out there. Once your blinkers are up, you're starting to pay attention to all the ads that come up on your Instagram or YouTube feed. What you're now focusing on is a conversation with our team. You may be watching this video first, and then you're going ahead and booking in the free call, which you'll find details for at the end of this video. But from there, you're coming on board, signing the agreement and paying the deposit. Now, we're one of the only buyer's agents in Australia that offer a fully refundable deposit. I'll speak about that more in a little bit. But from there, you go ahead and you actually get a call booked with our client manager, and you confirm the strategy so that we're on the right page, and then we start executing. But before that, you get a bit of a welcome pack, which just gives you more information about the process, what to expect at every step of the process, and it allows you to build the confidence in the fact that we are a team that commits to communication and commits to your actual long-term wealth building. This is not some side project for us. It is our life. It is our livelihood, and it's why we're building out this community so passionately. From there, we go ahead and start searching for the right property. We're out there constantly searching every week, but as you know, we don't take every single client that comes to us. We want to know that there's a fit between us two. There's a synergy that resonates, not just from today, but from moving forward over the next couple of years. So yes, we've been known to reject clients, but that's more so because we don't believe we're the right fit for that client. Equally, and as a result, we are very selective with the people we want to work with, and that allows us to have a fruitful relationship. It allows us to maintain our high levels of support, our high levels of integrity and results. Now, once we do source the right deal, we negotiate on the best price for our clients. Usually, this will be anywhere between $10,000 and $15,000 under market value. So if comparables are selling even next door across the street for $450,000, we will try and get it for $435,000. Of course, we're going to ask for the most ridiculous price and we'll see where we land. But the idea is that we want to be purchasing under market value so you get the upfront value, and in addition to that, you're setting yourself up to really accelerate that property growth. After that, we will help you with everything. When it comes to pest and building inspections, we'll go and call the pest and building inspectors. Our relationships in those areas are very important. We go out there, we get the right people to contact you. No longer do you have to go and make 10 different calls to people, 10 different calls to agents, as well as pest and building inspectors, making sure everything gets done. That's our job. We go beyond what a buyer's agent normally does. We want to help you, hold your hand through the entire process. We'll even introduce you to the conveyancer in that state. We then also organize in-person inspections for ourselves. So you're not required to actually go there in person. I know some people hate flying and they definitely hate driving. So we will take care of this for you as well. We're very thorough in this process. It is a hands-off approach for yourself, but there still is an accountability for you to get through this period, to go through the buy process with us to get to settlement. Once we've settled on the property, congratulations, you've got your first investment property, or maybe one of many. From there, we have a structured catch-up process. Portfolio reviews, strategy check-ins, it all happens over the next 3 to 6 months, and there's no additional cost to those consultations. Now, our work is your results. Our holistic approach means you take the guesswork out of buying the right property. This is super important, and there's so many moving elements I'm going to try and capture on this slide. Now, when it comes to buying investment properties or any investments, it needs to be based on logic, and logic is driven by statistics and data. So we look at lead and lag data mixed with real-time data. And then from there, we're going and matching that with your strategy to find the right property. But that's from your end. What are we doing from the market's perspective? What we're doing is we're looking at the cash flow analysis, looking at all of the data we have out there, and conducting micro and macroeconomic analysis to understand that we're in the right part of the cycle in the right location. From there, presents the perfect opportunity which matches with the right property, and for you, that's where we're going to start hitting some big goals. Now, what I want to do is showcase a couple of clients that have worked with us for some time and looked at how their portfolio has actually grown. Now, here we have Gary and Yuling. They're currently 39 and 40, and they did start when they were a little bit younger, but they're medical professionals who are too busy at work, and they looked at outsourcing the research to us. So they have actually got 5 properties in 4 different states in 3 years, and all with properties experiencing massive rental growth as well as capital growth. So down here on the right hand side, I've got is in the year of 2020, they bought 1, 21, they bought 2, and 2022, they bought 2. Now their entire portfolio is worth about 2.65 million. The average growth that they're experiencing so far is a massive 247,500, and their total passive income is about 16,200 in today's high interest environment. So what you've got to factor in here is that they've got a machine that they've now pretty much outsourced. They didn't have to do any of the research. They continue doing what they need to do and they're passionate about, continue living life. They've got kids as well. And what we're able to do is every 3 to 6 months, catch up with them, giving them an update of how their properties are performing, why they're performing in such a way, and then checking in on their strategy of why are the rents at the point they're at. Do we need to have a conversation with the property manager? And constantly looking at new ways to innovate our existing portfolio and looking at what the next steps look like. They will go ahead and purchase another couple of properties in 2023, and at that point they will have achieved what their goals were when we set them out in the beginning. We will adapt those and keep them quite fluid. They will be in a position in the next 2 to 3 years to go ahead and purchase their dream house, and then we will enter an accelerated debt reduction strategy. Here's another example. Rahul, who's 28, working professional who wanted help in sourcing properties interstate. He has now gone ahead and purchased 3 properties across 3 different states. He used the equity from property 1 as a deposit for the next 2 properties. This is very important to keep in mind, because if you go out there and purchase property just with your own cash, it will take you far longer. But if you can purchase the right properties, you should be able to go and recycle that deposit to be able to purchase the rest of your portfolio. Now in this case, his portfolio is already worth a massive 1.4 million, and his annual growth is $190,000 a year. That $14,000 of passive income is going to allow him to go and pay for his holiday later this year. The idea is that he's in a position at 28, having built a portfolio of this size, that now it allows him freedom to focus on things he's passionate about. He's very ambitious in his role, but he also wants to have a side hustle, which will ultimately lead him to potentially leaving his 9-to-5 job to go and focus on something he loves. Now we can look on the bright side, but then there's cases where we've got someone like Costa. Now I did speak to Costa on a strategy session, and this is the mistake he made. Now the reason I've included this is because after having so many conversations with people, I feel like this keeps coming up, and I want you to be aware that this is a possibility before you go ahead and make that mistake. Hopefully it brings you some value. Now he made the mistake of buying an apartment in Sydney due to a location in the hope it would grow. He thought that he knew what he was doing, but the numbers suggest otherwise. He found me on YouTube and I reached out to help him with his next purchase, but he didn't want to make another mistake. So his first property was a unit in Western Sydney. Now in 2017, the value of the property was $550,000. In 2023, it's $560,000. So 6 years later, it's gone up by $10,000. Not to mention the negative cash flow he was under as well. Now, as a comparison, I was showing him what happened last year with a property that we had purchased. And a property at the time, and I used the exact example I gave him, was that we purchased a property for $368,000. That same property is worth today $423,000, meaning in 9 months it went up by $55,000. Now, I've chosen this as complete random, but you'll see some examples come up later in this video, which is going to showcase why our methodology actually works. This is not a game of just guessing, hoping that this location grows. There's a team behind understanding the statistics and why we are so successful in gaining above average results. The question around buying versus renting, rent vesting, is effectively the strategy I use personally, and I'm going to use my example in a little bit. But you may have already heard this. You may have experienced this and it may have pushed you over the top to actually go ahead and purchase something instead of renting. Or you may be at the crossroads, and I hope that you're at the crossroads not having made this mistake yet. After this, hopefully you'll understand why. I'll buy something now, which is not my forever home, and then I'll convert it into an investment later. This is a mistake. Investing is based on logic and driven by statistics. Look at what the majority of people are doing and do the complete opposite. Why? Because financial freedom will only be achieved by less than 1% of the entire world's population. We talk about financial freedom, we talk about retiring with property, but the reality is that less than 1% of the entire world is ever going to experience this, which means if you're going out there and feeling like it's easy and you're doing it, chances are you might be making a mistake. And that's why you want to trust the right people with the right expertise to make this happen. Now we go back to the example of the Sydney unit. Its cash flow is negative. You've only gained $10,000. Whereas if you use that money to go ahead and purchase a strategically located property, you would be in a position where your cash flow is positive, plus you've made capital growth. And this is that whole misconception. But the idea is that it's all about supply and demand. If I can purchase a property in a good location that has a tight amount of supply and a higher level of demand, it means the property will grow. But when you go out and you purchase, say, an apartment in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, wherever the case may be, where there is the opportunity for high rises to come up, you'll have so much more supply coming onto the market and flooding in. This will then hinder how quickly your property can actually grow. Now I want to give you my example, why I continue rent vesting, and believe me, I've got Indian parents, my partner and I, we cop it big time when it comes to actually going and renting and paying what we pay. But this is the reason why. Now I rent where I want to live and I buy where there is growth, right? So just listen to that again. I rent where I want to live, but I buy where I want to see growth. Now I pay $1,200 a week, that's $62,400 a year. With my cash, I invested into 5 properties at $400K each, and as a result, I'm further ahead in the green by $1.5 million. Let me break it down. I currently rent a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom penthouse in Sydney. Now, the property is beautiful, and it was only built in 2019. The current owners, they bought it for $2.1 million, and the current value 4 years later is worth $1.8 million. That means a collective loss of about $300,000. And in addition to that, the cash flow is negative by $240,000 a year, which means collectively they've lost over $500,000. It's about $540,000. Now, when you compare that to what I've been able to do in that same amount of time, I've gone ahead and purchased 5 different properties at 400K each. So I've diversified my risk. I've then been able to go and see the growth in those properties. And after 4 years, that property portfolio is worth 3.52 million. And that means with the cash flow that's positive, I'm up 1.564 million. So the next time someone says to you that rent is dead money, rent is definitely not dead money. If you know the rules of the game, if you understand the mechanics of how to get from point A to point B, you can work with the system, understand it, and then get further ahead. It's very important I'm transparent with you with our results. So here it is. The national average growth in Australia for property in 2022 was minus 7.1%. Average annual growth that we achieved with our portfolio across the entire board for clients was plus 12.12% growth, which means that we actually outperformed the entire national market by over 19%. Now, the average deal size was $387,000, and we only look at brick properties, right? Now, the average positive cash flow after year one was $1,000 to $2,000. Now, before the interest rates went up, they were probably sitting at about $4,000 to $5,000. Now, the average cash on cash return year one is about 42.1%, which means for every dollar I've put in, I get about 42 cents back in the first year of holding the property. Now, the longest period we've had a client go without a tenant after settlement was 2 weeks, and we are buying across 5 different states. The minimum funds or equity that you need today to get started is $75,000. So contrary to what you read out there, thinking it's so expensive to buy property and get started on the property ladder, you need $75,000. Now, if you don't have a pre-approval yet, you can still contact us and we can help you through this process. Now, these are deals we've just done, but what we want to do is look at what these deals have performed like for clients, so actual results. What we can see here is a property purchased in Feb of 2022, and we purchased this for $340,000. 11 months later, it's worth $435,000, which means a $95,000 equity gain and capital growth of 27.9%. This is after a year of interest rates hiking at the rate they have. Another example here is a property for $410,000, which is now valued for $450,000, $40,000 of equity gain in 5 months. That's almost $10,000 every single month. And that equates to about 9.8% of capital growth in just 5 months. So you've seen some deals, you've gone ahead and seen some of those results. So your question is, why is SearchProperty so different? Well, we're the first and one of the only buyer's agencies that offer a 100% deposit refund. And the reason we do this is because we're super transparent. I don't want to work with someone that simply doesn't want to be there. I've seen people come from other buyer's agents that have lost their deposit because they just didn't enjoy the process, or what was delivered was completely out of the norm and below expectations. Unfortunately, they lose $4,000 to $5,000 as a result of that. In our case, if you come on board and you don't like what we do for whatever reason, we're able to have that discussion and then end on a win-win scenario. This significantly reduces your risk when you're trying to go and partner up with someone long term. Now, in 2022, we outperformed the national market by 19%. The average was 7.1% loss, whereas we grew by 12.12%, which is why our clients come back to us continuing to want to work with us, because we could do it during a time where things were turbulent, they were violent, they were volatile. And instead, we produce results that have put them further ahead than their peers. Now, when the market actually does work for the entire nation, we're able to then compound that growth and realize higher levels of equity gain, and our cash flow is also going to improve. Our focus is on long-term portfolios with a buy and hold strategy. We don't offer you a property that you're going to have to go and renovate, spend $50,000 to $60,000 on, and then we can realize the equity. No. What we want is a seamless process, something you can purchase, add to your portfolio and your machine, and then continue with daily life. When the property goes up in value, you use that equity to purchase again, and you keep stacking this machine that sits behind you. And we do this with a long-term hold strategy. Our strategy check-ins and portfolio health checkups are completely free. We also don't receive any referrals and any commissions from anybody. If we're referring you to a mortgage broker, an accountant, a conveyancer, or pest and build inspector, we don't receive anything. The reason we have built these relationships is to make the process easier for our clients. We are purely doing this to make that process easier and enjoyable for you. Because I understand, I've bought property before for myself, and I've spoken to so many that have bought for the first time. It's anxious, it's stressful, and it doesn't really get easier after purchasing 1 or 2 properties. But by having the right team with you, creating a WhatsApp group, having the communication links through email and phone allows you to not miss out on anything and gives you the highest level of communication with our team. We're a boutique team, so we don't want to go out there, advertise and have thousands and thousands of clients where you'll hear from one person and then you'll hear from someone else 3 weeks later. You lose a lot of momentum that way. For us, it was very important to have the right people in the team, be committed to our cause, and that's why we remain boutique. It allows us to achieve the high level of results, and it also means our clients benefit having more attention and high levels of communication. Now, every member of our team has 6+ properties. This is important because I didn't want anyone in the team talking to clients about building their portfolio of 5, 6, 7 properties when in fact they don't have it themselves. So the problems that you may incur, the structures that you may need to have, our team is completely across it because they've experienced it with their own portfolios. This is very important because it goes back to what I said at the beginning of this. If you want to go somewhere, go with someone that's been there before. And in our case, everyone in the team has been there before, taken different paths, and it gives you perspective to allow you to be in the best position to grow your wealth. Now, we have plenty of reviews on Google, but if you haven't gone across there, you wanted all of this consolidated, let's make your decision easier. We've got Preeti here who left a review. The team at SearchProperty helped us immensely with our investment property journey. From the initial strategy chat with Ravi and then working very closely with Deepak and his team, we couldn't fault their performance. It does feel like teamwork and they really look at your best results. I would highly recommend this team if you're looking to build a portfolio. I look forward to working with them again. As an aside, I also thoroughly enjoy Ravi's YouTube channel and it's very educational for not only real estate, but also macroeconomic factors. And I've learned about cryptocurrency as well. I recommend that channel too. Thanks, Preeti. And we've got Morgan here. Our first property investment purchase with SearchProperty couldn't have gone any smoother. It's been just under a year since, and our property has seen the growth that they promised and more. As someone who is quite nervous about getting into the property game at first, the professional team at SearchProperty made the process of finding, buying, and selling super easy. We're in the process of purchasing our second one with the team and are so glad we're on this journey with them. Highly recommend. Thanks, Morgan. And just a couple more here. Jono Fam, if you've been sitting on the fence on whether a buyer's agent has any merit when navigating your property investment journey, then you will find no better value for money than SearchProperty team. It was incredibly invaluable having Ravi, Deepak, and the team involved with my first acquisition with their insight and practical advice of the highest quality. From my initial chats with Ravi and all the way leading up to settlement, not once did I feel overwhelmed or that the team services were predominantly driven by financial gain, which is rare in this industry. I agree. In fact, the whole process was pain-free and practically seamless, with the team ready to answer any and all questions and provide their own nuanced commentary at every stage of the investment. It really felt like they had a genuine and invested interest in the success of this endeavor, and the personal care and patience with me was palpable throughout. Unexpectedly, the experience was an enjoyable one, especially given the traditionally stressful nature of a subject matter, and I very much look forward to continuing this relationship for other property investment opportunities in the near future. Would highly recommend. And the final one I've got here is Ben. This is a long overdue review. Had a great experience with Ravi and Deepak, who helped me with my first investment property purchase last year. They make sure the whole process is seamless, and most importantly, the property they found for me is performing well, both from cash flow and capital growth perspective. Highly recommend. Now you can go ahead and check out all the other reviews and gain the confidence that you need to make that first step. Hopefully this video is giving you a really good insight as to how we operate, why we do the things we do, and how we can bring you some more value. Now you're at that point where you've seen the value, you understand the value, but can you really justify the $15,000 price tag that a buyer's agent traditionally has? So the question is it worth it? Should you pay about $15,000 for the service? Now we've got a couple of pricing models, so the maximum you pay is about $15K, so definitely do inquire. So the questions you need to ask is, if you have to buy, can you do it with confidence? How long will it take you before you make that purchase? And have you looked at one market or 37 markets? What happens if something goes wrong? Will you know what to do from there? Imagine paying $15,000 and getting a deal which is 12K under market value, plus achieves 12% capital growth in year one on a 400K property that is about $52,000 worth of equity from $15,000. That's a 3.46x on your dollar. So that means effectively for the dollar that you spend, you make $3.46 in just the first year. After that, you get to keep the property long term. So you may think, yes, I can go out there and try and achieve those results myself. You could, but what is the likelihood of you achieving those results versus how incredibly high it could be when you're aligning yourself with a team that does this day in, day out, and they've done it for themselves already. Now, these are some frequently asked questions that I've gathered over the years, and I think it's very important as part of your understanding on what the next steps look like. So number one, what happens next after this session? I think if you've watched all the way through, there is some interest there for our services as well as growing your wealth in property. Definitely go and click on the links to go and book a free call with our team. If I want to engage your BA services, what is the process and costs? It'll all start with that call. And on that call, we're not only just going to figure out if we're the right fit, but we'll also talk about next steps as well. What does a buyer's agent actually do and what's involved? We go out there, we negotiate for you, and we also take it a couple of steps further. We understand what your needs are, we understand what the strategy looks like because we've helped you create it, and then we keep you accountable, keep the strategy fluid, and we use a range of tactics based on our methodology as well as the statistics we have to allow us to continue growing that portfolio when the market's going up as well as when the market's going down. How do you inspect the property? Do I need to physically go visit the property? No. We have a 4-step due diligence process when it comes to inspections. So that is something that you can definitely discuss with our team over the phone. You do not have to go there physically. Is it always better to buy an investment property over a principal place of residence? I think a lot of people are in this boat where they're constantly questioning whether I should buy a place in my backyard or should I go out there, invest in the right real estate. I urge you to use the examples in this video, understand how it applies to your own situation, get on a phone call with us and see if this is the right move for you. In most cases, what people are trying to do is not just buy a place for themselves, but it's actually to grow your wealth. And so if you're really looking at that, we can definitely take a look at your existing financial position and see how property can help accelerate that growth. Number 6 is, how do you manage an investment property? Is it difficult? We have all the right relationships with property managers as well. So as part of the process, we'll introduce you to the right property managers so you can take the guesswork out of managing one. It's actually super easy, and we're going to share with you the exact process as well as we go through the buying process. From the point of coming on board as a client, how quickly can you find a deal for a client? Based on the amount of inquiries we've been receiving, plus this video going out with more information, it usually takes anywhere between 4 and 5 weeks from the time you come on board to actually purchasing the property. This may vary depending on when you're watching this, but is definitely a question you can ask on the phone call. And finally, do I need a pre-approval before joining as a client? No, you don't. We can help you with the process of pre-approval, and in most cases, it's better when you don't have that pre-approval before you come on board, because some people go out there, get a pre-approval for $800,000 or $900,000 on their own house, but realize that they actually want an investment property for $400K. So if you haven't got this, don't worry. I think you should go ahead, book your free call now, speak to our team and see if this is the right fit for you. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I thank you for watching all the way through. Hopefully we get to work soon. Thanks, guys.